Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Ignite. Lovely snow out there today, which I didn't expect to see, but I guess that's all right. We'll roll with the punches on that. So thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Shelly Bakke. I'm a director of a great fun team that we have within engineering called the Customer and Partner Success Team. And with me, I have Arminder from KPMG. So today we really want to make sure and focus on, for you partners in the community, how do you engage with Microsoft Cloud for sustainability and how do we embed you into the ecosystem? I'm going to start very quickly with a super fast logistic item I want to make sure everyone is aware about, and that's about how to become a Microsoft sustainability partner. Now, later on today at 5 p.m., myself and Brandon Potter, who is the head of the product, will be hosting a session all about how to become a partner, as well as some of the implementation best practices. I'm going to talk about the partner opportunity in front of you for AI. And then from there, we're going to turn it over to Arminder, where he's going to share from the KPMG perspective how they've built solutions on top of, integrated with, and also leveraged and used AI as well. So the very first thing that we have available for all partners, which I'm hoping to get an applause for, is free product for you. So we do have some sandbox offers that are available for you, so you can use these for your deployment, your demos, for any kind of testing that you would need to do, as well as for extending the product and the solution. So we have a link available within the deck that you will be able to get access to, where you could go and request these licenses. Now let's talk about the opportunity that AI is in front of you, and then let's look at some of the frameworks that we have available to help you really think about how to prioritize those AI scenarios. Everyone's talking about AI. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our customers. We know that the potential is absolutely clear. Look at just the number of 17 billion is what is projected for that growth by 2026. And that's just phenomenal what we're expecting here. We already have 87% of the leaders in the private and public sector that are really looking at how AI can help them transform their business. So this creates great opportunity for you guys as our partners. So from the opportunity perspective, you can go the traditional AI ML route. You can go the route with agents, which you've heard a lot about in the last couple of days, or you could go with some custom, tailor-made AI solutions as well too. There are major use cases available for sustainability when it comes to AI. And when we think about this, we know sustainability is a very horizontal solution, and it fits every industry. So if we start thinking about how AI can help customers improve their ESG reporting, think about all of those qualitative statements that need to be generated and required for customers that are going to need to report to CSRD or any of the other standards and frameworks. You can also use AI to do some predictive risk modeling, maybe even some climate risk modeling as well too. And then we're going to talk about in an example in the future here about how AI can help with a facility optimization. But the challenges, you guys know this, are very real, and we need to make sure that we embrace these challenges as we're on the journey. So the first is the complexity of data. Data is very siloed, and we're going to hear from Arminder here too about how he thinks about and how KPMG thinks about bringing all of the data together for customers. We've got a technology and a skill gap, so we want to make sure that our customers are skilled and ready to use the models. And of course, just making sure the customers are comfortable with the compliance and the security challenges. With that, we've developed a framework for you to think about how to prioritize the use cases for your customer, and this is called the BXT framework. So it's bringing together the business viability, the experience desirability, as well as the technology feasibility to really help determine what's the right approach to take to solve the customer's problems. Now, when we're talking about the business viability, we generally ask you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 5. And these are some sample questions that we want you to ask yourself. What is the outcome that we really want to achieve for this customer? What is the predicted time to value for the customer, as an example? Really use these as that thought guidance on making sure that you're building the right solutions for the customer that are going to help them transform their business and not just building up a bunch of little bespoke solutions for them. Then when we think about the experience side, again, rating it on a scale of that 1 to 5 framework. How does it align with the user's needs and preferences? So put yourself in the shoes of the user. How are they really going to use this? What's the value of it to them? And then lastly, of course, the technology. We talked about there's multiple different approaches you could take for the technology. Some of the questions to ask is this really a catch-up for AI because we're building something so we have something out there in the marketplace that is AI branded? Or is it really a differentiator for that customer and it's going to really drive their business and propel them forward? This is an example that I wanted to provide you. So this is an example of the template. It's a 2-page template on how you could think about applying the BXT framework. So this is that scenario of optimizing your facilities. Now, when we think about optimizing the facility, there's usually 2 sides of the coin. There's the sustainability side, and then there's also sometimes the financial side that's driving it as well. So both of those can be pulled together in this lens. So you want to make sure that you've got the clear problem that you're looking to solve. Here we're trying to solve the lack of real-time insights. That's one of the major problems we're looking for. From there, you bring in that use case description and look at the business objectives, the key results, and then give it a strategic fit on a scale of 1 to 5. Now, when you think about the facility optimization, this probably would have a very strategic fit for a company in the CPG space or the manufacturing space, but maybe it doesn't have as much of a business viability or strategic fit in another company in a different space or vertical. This is where you really need to make sure that you're spanning the horizon. And then as we asked those questions or provided you those prompts for those questions to really think about prioritizing the business experience and the technology, this is the end result. So from a business viability, we said that we want to drive the sustainability initiatives, we want to increase the productivity, and we gave ourselves the timeline to do this within 6 months. Looking at the experience, who is going to be that persona? Who's the person we're going to help bring value to their day-to-day job? The machine operator. So how appealing is the overall value to that user? Really putting yourself in their shoes. And then next, what is that technical value? What is the feasibility of doing this solution? Now with that and setting you up with the framework, so now you are all ready to make solutions out there for customers that are going to be bringing them the high value, I want to turn it over to Arminder, where he's going to discuss about what KPMG has done to bring value to our customer ecosystem as well. So Arminder.
Thank you, Shelly. Let's quickly start with the need and challenges in the market, right? So we all know ESG is not straightforward anymore. It's complex, it's evolving, which is why it's very important for a lot of organizations to bring different aspects of the organization together to work and have collaborative partnerships. It's forcing a lot of leaderships to basically balance their immediate revenue and cost challenges by keeping long-term sustainability objectives in mind. They have to make sure that all these hard topics being addressed, but it has to be collaboratively across their organization, not just siloed. Like it's not just a CSO thing anymore. It's CTOs have to get involved, CSOs, CFOs. Sustainability impact every aspect of the organization, as we know. For today's discussion, for this context, let's just pick example for CTO. A lot of our clients, when we talk about sustainability with the CTOs, their primary concern is optimizing their technical debt, not having too many technical solutions and making sure they're making the right selections to begin with. And those selections are scalable. Like I said, it's evolving. If you make certain selections today of your tooling and of your landscape, it might not support your 2-year, 3-year down the line, some requirements similar to CSRD comes down the line, right? So how would you basically make sure it's scalable? So what possibly could go wrong if you're not thinking holistically and if you're not collaborating across your organization? There are many challenges, but there are a few examples up here. We'll just talk about a couple non-auditable data. As one of the major challenges, Shelly touched upon that, the data management. Not having a right data management solution to begin with can only cause more problems later down the line. So having auditable, single source of truth that all different aspects of your organization are kind of leveraging is very important to have. And a lot of time we see like many teams in the bigger organizations kind of focus on their pointed solutions and pointed problems, end up having siloed data sets, siloed solutions, and not really kind of get detached from the overall digital journey that their organization is going to. And then that involves a lot of cost optimization, and then you really kind of need to make sure that you piggyback on your digital transformation that your organization is investing in. So you end up investing more in those solutions down the line, and then it causes delays. So many times we see like clients actually end up shutting down certain projects and basically step back and thinking holistically, like, is it actually serving the purpose that my organization need? So some of these challenges go beyond just having your immediate need. It's about having the holistic view of your landscape. So talking about landscape, these are the building blocks of end-to-end reporting, sustainable reporting landscape that looks like. And what we have done here is that we basically pointed out like how Microsoft covered each and every aspect of that landscape, starting from internal data sources, data assessments, all the way to the compliance and external and internal reporting. It's very important to, again, think about just the whole flow of it. Now, Microsoft, as a cloud provider, do provide cloud services, but in addition to that, do provide some accelerators and some solutions specific to sustainability, and which basically complements a lot of that. For example, I'll just pick some example here. I'll just focus on data collection and storage, which is again very important aspect of having the right landscape in place. Sustainability Manager is one of the product cloud for sustainability umbrella. That's, of course, we know about that. We'll talk about that in a bit. But before we go that, we all know about Microsoft Fabric as a technology. On top of that, Microsoft have developed certain accelerators called SDSF, Sustainability Data Solutions on Fabric. That solves a lot of CTO problems by having pre-built ESG data models. You don't really need to invest a lot from scratch up to building those data models. Those are out there. Those are given out of box that you can basically start using rather than building the data models. Why those data models are important? Like I said, ESG is no longer just about having emissions data or activity data anymore. For example, CSR, you need a lot of data. You need finance, you need your social governance, your HR, of course, your operations data, right? So collecting all that data and then combining into single ESG standardized, normalized data model and sporting one and then reporting a single source of truth for your regulatory reporting needs is kind of very important. That's why that helps a lot. Then metric calculation, of course, Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability help with the carbon accounting, external reporting, internal reporting, and then making progress this year and into next year, where you can have regulatory frameworks aligned. All these are, in addition to cloud services, you have these products and accelerators that you can piggyback on and have basically holistic view by using Microsoft services. Now, how this in reality, this is one of the example for one of our client. Like, it's not just about going and solving one specific problem. It's like, again, what are your goals, right? And how you map your goals with your technologies and have some advanced solutions as well. We talked about AI, like Shelly mentioned earlier. So not one solution will provide all of these problems. I would actually ask the audience, how many of you actually involved in any technological discussion around sustainability? How many of you ever had discussion with your clients or within your organization? Pretty much many of those. How many times you have walked out from a room or series of discussion or meeting and then felt like, yeah, you have all figured out, everything is sorted? You're the lucky one. So precisely my point, right? It's not one solution that can serve all of your needs. So basically you have to go through the exercise, making sure you are aligned to your sustainability objective and goals, and then you're mapping technology and making sure you're not building a technical debt, and then how you're can build advanced solutions. And certain examples are highlighted on the right side where you can have AI-powered monitoring platform. It can, of course, build upon Cloud for Sustainability services and then additional AI and Fabric services. And then you can have certain solutions that can help not just about reporting, but also help to optimize your operations, to optimize clients, the cost optimization, and actually make some revenue. I'll show you some example of solutions that we have for some of our clients that helping beyond reporting. So now that we understand the need and challenge and what's about our experience with the clients in the market, we have KPMG powered sustainability, and I'll quickly run a quick video to give the intro, and we'll quickly talk about what is the thought process behind that KPMG sustainability solution that we have. So that video highlighted some of the challenges and why it's important and all, right? So what is KPMG powered sustainability or powered enterprise sustainability? KPMG have similar powered solutions for finance and other sectors, and basically in the same premises. It's a set of accelerators that help to accelerate or can complement the ESG journey for our clients by leveraging pre-built digital assets, AI, and solutions around Cloud for Sustainability. And I'll, in next slide, go into the details of that. So this basically use the domain knowledge and the target operating model, sustainability target operating model that we have developed by keeping clients, people, their delivery model in mind, and all the processes and controls end-to-end that you need to have, and then governance and tech and data, of course. And this is all enabled by Microsoft, different technologies and services, and focusing on three main dimensions here: your internal reporting, your external reporting, and your regulatory reporting. The target operating model is kind of one I want to quickly focus on. This is how the target operating model looks like. It's a well-thought end-to-end target operating model. Now, for a lot of clients, not every single box could be applicable. There could be like some curtailed version of this that could be applicable, but this ensures that you're covering every single process and control from your internal assessment of your double materiality assessment to understanding your data needs all the way up to the reporting. For example, 3.3, calculate metrics and data collection, right? For each of this blue box, if you double click on that have detailed process flows and tasks defined for each of this process. And then it's enabled by certain digital assets and technology that helps you to basically achieve that particular blue box here. So for example, 3.3, calculate metrics and data collection. This particular box is enabled by Cloud for Sustainability Carbon Accounting tool that helps you to calculate your scope 1 and your all scope 3 categories here. And then we have some custom applications that have been built for certain boxes where Microsoft do not have a coverage as a partners we extend that, that services by building in-house applications. And I'll go in this slide, like how that looks. So basically, this is the journey that would typically go. If you ask the fundamental question, like, what is material to me? Now, this is the area where Microsoft probably don't have any service and offering, and that's where we have certain custom applications that we use to deploy for our clients is double materiality assessment, your ESG reporting readiness maturity assessment. This helps you to do the DMA exercise, understand what's material to you, and then basically then you can take that and then understand what all disclosures that you need to report on. What KPIs do I need to have? KPIs and data do I need to have? Now, again, understanding of data is very important. Now, one organization could have multiple regulatory frameworks that they have to report on, GRI, CSRD, and so on, right? It doesn't mean that you have to have a separate data collection exercise for each of the regulatory framework. There could be a lot of overlap on the data elements that you need. So that exercise you need to do, like, okay, this is your precise list of data elements that you need to enable XYZ reporting frameworks. And that's where we have certain application that helps to do that. Now, how do I collect the data? Where do I store the data? And how do I calculate my KPIs? Most definitely, Microsoft have good services and accelerators that you can use. Again, I will double click on Azure Fabric data connectors that have out of box, I think, over around 170 or 100 data connectors that you can use to pull the data from all different source systems, use pre-built data models. And then many clients probably don't have all the data sorted, right? They still kind of collect data using manual entry apps. So that's where we have certain apps that can help to collect the CSRD data through manual Power Apps that's been built on Microsoft technology again. How do I calculate my KPIs? Again, Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability for Water Waste, Scope 1, 2, 3 helps to do all that. And then if there's any domain-specific or industry-specific need, that's where we extend the data model in MSM to address those needs. And then from understanding of what's material to me up to how do you internally and externally report, it has a broad need, and then this is how you have certain services and accelerators from Microsoft, and how as a partner you can develop certain accelerators and then solutions that can help for the clients. How to externally report is where now a very important topic, and then Microsoft is helping by enabling certain features within Cloud for Sustainability umbrella that you can use to align your metrics and data to the regulatory framework like CSRD, GRI, and then so on. And then again, to complement that, there are certain accelerators and tools that we have developed. For example, a CSRD reporting app or ESR topic-specific dashboards that help customers to understand their whole CSRD reporting. This is the high-level architecture that looks like, and again, we want to focus on the back-end part of it. A lot of time, customers focus on the application part of it, the front-end part of it, and often ignore the data availability and the back-end piece of it. And then that's very important to understand that your back-end, your sources integration and data storage and logic is in place, and that's why it's split it in two. So again, Microsoft Fabric is one of the unique offering, and then accelerators built on Fabric are the kind of unique offering by Microsoft compared to other cloud providers that helps to do the data management for the complex CSRD reporting requirement. I'm taking CSRD as an example again because CSRD is kind of huge and complex. It requires a lot of data collection. So it's kind of very important to focus on the underlying data management piece as well. And then you can have your sustainability services on top of it. And then, of course, we have Microsoft KPMG powered sustainability apps enabled on top of your application layer. Why it is important to have centralized ESG platform, I think we touched upon that throughout. again, it's very important to get out of silos and then have one single source data that is enabling all your different needs around sustainability. If you end up having different data sets, different answers for same thing, it will be it's not going to be a optimized way of reporting by answering same question with different ways and different metrics. Integrated and auditable solution to manage. Flexible and scalable solution that evolves to meet upcoming regulation is very important to focus on. You need to have a scalable solution, and we often end up in a discussion when certain clients have their very focused agenda on one thing, which we know it's not going to work for long term. It probably will work for your 1 or 2 year need, but enabling your underlying and other boxes around that particular need is very important. And then common set of standards and reusable data assets. Again, in Fabric, you have options to virtualize the data. You don't really need to invest hugely into bringing all the data in. If you already have data available in your other clouds, AWS, anywhere, Fabric, you can virtualize it in, but as long as you have one single data foundational platform that enables your reporting needs is kind of very important. We were talking about hypothetically like what power sustainability look like, but these are some of the snippets, screenshots of the actual solution from vision all the way to sustain and it's again built upon that target operating model. Within each blue box, you have all the tasks defined and it's powered by a certain application if needed. And it basically makes sure that you're not missing any process and control in your organization. And this is how the whole solution would look like. Now, again, I would like to emphasize on the fact that you probably don't need to have all of these tasks and all of these processes involved, but at least from the analysis point, you need to really understand what all is applicable and what all is needed to have that end-to-end solution enabled for the organization. You have to start from somewhere. It doesn't have to be like all at once. It can be phased out, but at least you should keep all the clients. We recommend our clients to keep in mind like how they can basically segregate the need of different solutions that they have within the organization. Now we talked about power sustainability and the solutions around carbon accounting and reporting, but there's a need of some advanced solution for a lot of customers that is their need beyond just reporting, right? How they can make sure that they can have the use cases template that Shelly was showing, like how you can prioritize your use cases, AI use cases, and other advanced solution in ESG. So what we have done is like we have some advanced solution again enabled by Microsoft services and leveraging cloud for sustainability ecosystem. I'll show you some of the examples of the solutions that we have out in the market that enabled by Microsoft. This is called a net zero carbon analytical platform. We have this is as a managed service solution, currently catering a lot of our energy clients in partnership with the Context Lab, one of our partner, that helps to basically understand the current and future state of emission performance. It really helps our clients to double click into their emissions performance and then help them to optimize their operations for their assets. And then it's enabled by Cloud for Sustainability, OpenAI, Fabric, and other services in Azure Cloud. Now, this is an interesting one, Dynamic Climate Risk Management, we call it DCRM. It applies the advanced analytics to inform the risk and that levers that enable the resilience. This on its own is a different domain as such, and we have a dedicated team that just work on that. It's about making sure that you're doing the risk management and then also understanding the adaptation pathway and how you can be more resilient to the climate risk. And this solution is being migrated from native Azure services to Fabric, and then it helps with a lot of climate risk type of needs for a lot of our clients. And again, the point is that we don't really need to be around having a point solution for every single problem, but this helps you to basically go beyond reporting and have use Azure services to enable some advanced use cases like this. Then again, real-time analytics. This is very important for a lot of our operation-intensive clients. One of our energy major they have about $1.5 billion in cost, in energy cost annually. Now, it's reporting and all those things are fine, but how they can basically now have a sustainable business, how they can find an opportunities where they can save some money and then be more sustainable, right? The true sustainability in the operations. Solutions like these helps them to optimize the use of energy, use of diesel in their day-to-day operations, use of electricity, use of natural gas. So this helps to basically optimize certain understand the certain operations aspect, and then where they can focus on and basically double click into it and understand that how they can improve it. On the scale of 1.5 billion, if they can achieve 2 to 5% of optimization, that's a huge saving for them. And that's actually the actual sustainable objectives they can focus on by having these type of solution, again underpinned by IoT and the Fabric and other Azure services. Now, this particular solution does not use cloud for sustainability because there is no need of calculating emissions as such. But there is another offering, PaaS offering. It's called calculation as a service. You can use calculation as a service in such solutions where you can calculate emissions on the fly for certain routes, for certain operations, and then basically give the real-time analytics into the emissions of the operations. So these type of solutions do help and optimize a lot of things. Carbon market tool. Carbon market is a very complex space where you really need to understand a lot of carbon market methodologies, and a lot of clients come for help in understanding their methodologies. For example, deforestation, CCUS, and how they can do that. AI truly, it was very cost-intensive projects in past, but with AI, it helps to enable a lot of accelerators that can reduce the journey of having that carbon market type of methodology implementation. So we're using, again, other OpenAI services, and in this case, we have also using Databricks to process a lot of methodologies and understand how client can implement that easily, and then understand how their projects will perform by just putting certain input metrics of the project, and then they will get the output of like, okay, if you do A, B, C, X, Y, Z will be your results, and this is how you can optimize your operation, and that's all based on the complex carbon market methodologies that's been defined by Gold Standard and others. Product carbon footprint is a very interesting one and one of my favorite. A lot of our clients are asking for product carbon footprinting. And in this case, we are using Cloud for Sustainability umbrella, where I think product team have done a great job by progressing from having a Pathfinder data model to actually have a additional capability in C4S to do this PCF calculation. A lot of our customers are basically looking to understand their product carbon footprint in the value chain. And this is not just about, again, understanding particular product's carbon footprint, but also understanding the value chain and where are the optimization opportunities. For this one, if you see the red box in the middle is processing and packaging. And in the whole value chain, if let's say if the product carbon footprint is like 10 kgs, 8 is coming from just processing and packaging. So if you need to optimize your product carbon footprint, then you need to focus on processing and packaging. And within that, you can double click and basically see what activities are more carbon intensive. So again, this truly helps not to just understand your value chain, your product carbon footprint, but also help you to give opportunities to see where you can improve the emission footprint and then be more sustainable. And a lot of customers are asking our clients to provide this information. So it's kind of getting very important for a lot of customers to have their PCF data for their products ready, especially for heavy metal and manufacturing industry and then retail industry. And again, the last one is the CCS. This is a very specific use case about carbon capture, site and emitter analysis. Microsoft have Azure Admin that's basically built upon OSDU data model. This helps a lot of energy clients who are kind of participating in the carbon capture initiatives, and we help them to understand like how this can to ensure like their projects can get successful. The failure rate for CCUS is quite high, and the main reason behind that is lack of understanding of your data in that case. And there are many scientists and experts in this domain. We certainly are not covering that domain, but we are helping to bring that data and give sense to data that how you can basically understand the whole flow of your missions and how that can enable your CCUS projects to be more successful implementation. That's us. We'll open up for question. This is how I look with my long hair. So if there are any questions, we're happy to take the questions. Back to Shelly.
Yeah, if you do have a question, there is the mic right here in the front. So please go there so that way everyone, even on the recording, can listen to you. But if you have one in your chair, shout it out. We can always reiterate it as well, too, for everyone. So. Hopefully what you guys have seen today has been helpful in a framework to help you think about building the next level of the solutions. And then also from the great work of KPMG, so thank you guys for being a great partner, on looking at how we can solve customer problems by being a Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability partner by extending not just on our solutions of Microsoft Sustainability Manager or Sustainability Data Solutions in Fabric, but also using some standard Azure as the platform as well too. Go back one slide, yes. There you go. Sorry, I didn't even realize I hit that. Yes, our contact information is there, so please do follow up with us directly if you have any questions. Thank you guys very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you for your time.